Hey everybody, and welcome back to Sweatpants BI. In part 2 of our airline customer satisfaction survey infographic walkthrough, that's a lot of words, we're going to focus specifically on the more demographic aspects of the data set. In other words, understanding more about the passengers who responded to this hypothetical airline survey who expressed their overall satisfaction with different aspects of their experience flying with Sweatpants Air. So we're just going to quickly throw a few visualizations onto the page as ideas for how to visualize information specifically about those passengers. For our demographics page, we're going to start by writing a measure that is going to be one of the simplest measures that you can write in DAX. This is just going to be a response count. And for this, we're just going to run a count function on the ID column from our airline passenger satisfaction data set. And now I'm just going to go ahead and let's just add a card here. And let's use our response count in that card. I'm going to click on my formatting options and my callout value, which is the 130K. Let's make the display units none, just so that I can confirm that the number of unique responses here matches the number of unique responses to the surveys. So if I scroll over here and click on my ID column, you can see I have 129,880 rows, and they are all of them distinct values. So this is our response count. Because this is an infographic and we want to focus on readability and storytelling, I want to make sure that everything is formatted correctly, and I can't stand seeing big numbers that don't have commas where they should go. So let's go ahead and add to our 129,880 a comma to make that a little bit easier to read. And now maybe we're thinking we also want to break down that 129,880 by the year that people are responding to the survey. And of course, since we already have a relationship between response date and date in our date table, all we need to do is just add a year filter so that the user can select 2022 or 2021. And we can see that it looks like the count of responses was almost exactly even between 2022 and 2021. Only a difference of, maybe 750 to 800 survey responses. So let's go ahead and, because we're comparing 2022 survey responses to a previous year's survey responses, let's grab this 2022 card, and we're going to use this visual to spin off additional visuals that we want to see in the demographics section of our infographic. And the reason that I copied this card is so that I can make sure that this 2022 year filter is always there, kind of hanging out in the background. So first, we're going to turn this card with 65,326 responses into a donut chart. I'm going to make this just a little bit larger. And the first field that we're going to grab from our data is going to be customer type, which of course tells us how many of the passengers who responded to the survey are returning customers or first-time customers. And you can see that an overwhelming majority are returning customers. So this is definitely a visual that is going to help sort of contextualize the responses that we're getting to the survey. So this is a very, sort of low real estate, small visual, doesn't take up a whole lot of room, but anyone can look at this and immediately understand the distribution of people who are responding. And so we're just going to go ahead and copy this donut chart a couple more times. We're also going to break this down by class. In other words, what class were people flying? Looks like about 48% of responses to the survey were people flying business class. I have my doubts. Business class is expensive. I certainly can't afford it. How are all of these people affording it? And then the last one that we're going to do here is going to be type of travel, so that we can understand, of the people that are responding to the survey, what percentage were traveling for business. Big majority are doing business travel, which I guess aligns to the fact that so many flew business class, and about a third were flying for personal travel reasons. Now, once again, this is a fake data set. Everything is randomized. Don't think too hard or read too much into any insights that you see in these particular visuals, because this is just sort of a demonstration data set that I downloaded from some website and then kind of manipulated it to serve my needs. This is not real data. But I digress. At least we can see a breakdown of the different passengers who were responding to this survey for the 2022 survey. And next, we're going to go ahead and copy our donut chart one more time so that we can break down the distribution of responses by gender. And you can see it's almost a perfect 50-50 split between male and female. And last but not least, let's go ahead and add one more donut chart. And for this one, I'm going to add age just to sort of highlight that if I ever see any of you making a donut chart that looks like this, we're going to have words. Obviously, this is hideous. Our ages are very granular. In fact, our age distribution ranges from, I believe, 7 years old all the way to 85 years old. I'm personally not sure how much sense this makes. Did they really send the survey to a 7-year-old flyer? Again, I have questions about this fake data set. Who are all these young children who are filling out this, corporate survey? Did a parent fill that out for them? Because that's biased. But anyway, I'm not going to focus too much on the questions that I have about children taking this airline satisfaction survey. It is what it is for this fake data set, but you can see we have way, way too many ages to possibly fit into this donut chart. So the easy solution here is let's try turning it into a bar chart and see how that looks. And, at a glance, not too bad. You can see that it does look like, we have a fairly small distribution of, responses from people who are under the age of 20. Then it looks like our responses kind of spike, a little bit for people in their mid to late 20s, and again in mid to late 30s. And then by the time you get passengers into their 40s, you can see that it looks like things start to drop off a little bit. If we stop and think, maybe this bar chart is almost too granular, seeing each age kind of in isolation. No problem. I always want to point out that it's pretty easy to create groupings on columns like age within Power BI without even using any DAX. All we have to do is just right click on our age column, say that we want to create a new group. We're going to use, instead of bin for our group type, we're just going to create list groups. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold down Shift, and first I'm going to select 7, then I'm going to select everything through 19, and I'm going to group those. Then I'm going to select 20 through 29 and group those, 30 through 39, 40 through 49, 50 through 59, 60 through 69, and 70 through everything else that I've got. Once we've got everything grouped, let's just quickly go ahead and double click on these makeshift group names, and I'm going to call all of my 20 ages 20s. I'm going to call this group 30s. I'm going to call this group 40s, 50s, 60s, 60s. Now I've got my 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So let's just go ahead and group all of this into a group that is just under 30. And then for everything else, we're going to call this 70 and up. And I'm going to call this new group that I'm creating age group. So I'm just changing the name up here to age group. I'm going to hit OK. And when this is done, I'm just going to go ahead and click on it so that I can make sure that everything is in the right order. Less than 20, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. So if I do think that this is too granular, I can just very, very quickly experiment with putting age group into this instead. And now you can see that by default, Power BI has organized this according to where the response counts being highest and then put them in descending order. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense though when our x-axis are age groups. We would expect those age groups to run chronologically rather than being valued by the count of responses. So let's go ahead and click on the three dots here. We're going to specify that we want to sort our x-axis based on age group instead. And then we want our age group sorted in ascending order so that we can see everybody under the age of 20, and then in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, all the way to 70 and up. And also, since we're using a whole bunch of donut charts here that are breaking down the counts of responses into percentages or proportions, maybe we want to preserve that overall effect here in our bar chart. So we can change our y-axis from raw counts to percent of grand total. And there we go. Now we have at least some visuals to start to play with to at least speed up the process a little bit for our customer demographics page. Now that we have all of this, let's go ahead and jump over to Net Promoter Score, where we're going to be writing a little bit more DAX, but still far from anything that you can't handle.